Hello, everyone, and welcome to this short introduction to the Tibetan Language Institute and the Big Sky Man Sangha by Lama David Curtis. Today I'm going to introduce Lama David, and he will talk to you a bit about the Tibetan Language Institute and Big Sky Man Sangha and give a short introduction to the Tibetan language. Lama David and his wife, Deanna, became interested in Tibetan Buddhism after attending teachings given by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama in 1984. They had studied classical languages and philosophy in college and were students of Buddhism, but their interest shifted to Tibetan Buddhism after hearing His Holiness teach. The next year, they went to France, where they lived and studied and practiced at a Dharma center for 5 years. They completed a traditional Tibetan Buddhist 3-year retreat in 1992, whereupon they were each given the title Lama. On their return to the US in 1993, Lama David began to teach classical Tibetan, the language of Buddhist texts and teachings. In 1996, he established the Tibetan Language Institute, an educational nonprofit organization dedicated to the preservation of Tibetan language and Tibetan Buddhist culture. TLI is dedicated to the classical Tibetan language and developing language learning materials for modern students of Tibetan Buddhism. Lama David has traveled extensively in the US, teaching Tibetan language seminars to hundreds of people. In 2007, he was named an Acharya. He and Deanna continue to teach online classes and distribute their learning materials to people all over the world. For the last 10 years, they've also been sharing Buddhist teachings via the Big Sky Man Sangha, a Montana-based Dharma Sangha. And now, without further ado, I will introduce Lama David Curtis, and he will speak to you just a bit about the Tibetan Language Institute, the Big Sky Man Sangha, and the Tibetan language. Hi, David.
Thanks, Ruthie. Thanks very much, Ruthie, and welcome everyone. I'm happy to be here with you and share just a little bit about the Tibetan language and what we do at the Tibetan Language Institute. And also I'll say a bit about our Dharma teaching activities as well. So most people that are involved with Tibetan Buddhism know that the Tibetans translated a tremendous amount of material from the Buddhist texts from India in the Sanskrit language. And the Tibetans went on to write commentaries on those and then compose their own books as well. Few people know, however, that in order to do that, the Tibetans actually created a new language. So they had their basic colloquial language, but that was not quite adequate for translating the profound philosophy and beautiful teachings of Buddhism that were written in the Sanskrit language. And so they had to develop a new language. And so that language was very much influenced by the Sanskrit language. And the spoken Tibetan that they had had for centuries, that language is related to Chinese. So the Sanskrit language of the Buddhist texts and then the spoken Tibetan language of the time were very different. And it's as if the great Tibetan masters melded those two languages together and created a new language. And that's what we now call classical Tibetan. So some people just call it Buddhist Tibetan. So it's different from the normal spoken language. So what we at Tibetan Language Institute do, we call it TLI, what we do is teach people, mostly Buddhist practitioners, students of Tibetan Buddhism, to read that language. It's the language of the teachings, a language of the sacred texts. So such things as sadhanas, the liturgies, commentaries, and all actually there are tens of thousands of texts that are written in this language. And again, many of them were translated from Sanskrit, but then the Tibetans, of course, have gone on over the centuries to write their own beautiful texts. So classical Tibetan is the language of Tibetan Buddhism, and that's what we teach. So when people get the idea of learning Tibetan, they might look at it and think that, oh, I could never do that. That looks very strange. Do they even have an alphabet? Does it go Does it read left to right, or does it top to bottom, or right to left? And it just looks formidable. Well, it came to me more than, well, I guess nearly 30 years ago now, when I was in the 3-year retreat, that when I left, that's what I should do, is teach people Tibetan. And I thought it was an absurd idea at the time, but anyway, I decided to give it a try. And I thought I would just do it for a short period of time and learn more about Tibetan myself, and then go into another 3-year retreat. I loved being in the 3-year retreat that I did. But life is full of surprises, and instead, I just have been teaching Tibetan the entire time, since 1973. So quite a long while. Along the way, I realized that a lot of the books, the grammars that teach Tibetan, were written in the 19th century. They were written by Christian missionaries for other Christian missionaries in order to convert the Tibetans to a different religion, you could say. So they weren't coming from a Dharma perspective exactly. And the Tibetan language is at the heart of Buddhist practice and the Buddhist culture and the Buddhist tradition. And that's been told to me many times by different Tibetan Rinpoches and masters from all the different lineages. I've had the good fortune to study with masters from many different religions over the years, over the last 40 years, I guess. So what I slowly came to realize is that we needed a new way of talking about Tibetan and teaching Tibetan to modern people and people that are Buddhist. And so through a lot of trial and error over the years, that's what we've produced at the Tibetan Language Institute. We have a way of teaching. So we offer classes that usually go in 10-week semesters. And we have written different manuals to teach the language, and developed flashcards and CDs and DVDs and a whole suite of materials to help modern people learn this ancient, sacred, beautiful language. So one of the things that I like to do on occasion, what I'd like to do today, is just show you how I teach and actually teach you the Tibetan alphabet right here, right now. People think, oh, that must be formidable, but I try to make it accessible. So now we can turn to our alphabet page, and I'll start sharing with you about this sacred language. So Tibetan is read left to right and top to bottom, just like English and the European languages. One thing about the Tibetan alphabet that we have here is it's very systematic, and there's a organization to it. And once we learn that, then it makes learning the alphabet and then reading the script much, much easier. So in the English alphabet, it's pretty random, right? There's no significant connection between like an F and a G. Sound-wise, they just happen to occur E, F, G, H, I, J, together in the alphabet. But in Tibetan, the sounds are organized in a very systematic way. And one of the ways that they're organized is where they're made in our whole vocal apparatus, from our throat out to our lips. So I'd like to share about the language a little bit now, and then just teach you the alphabet immediately and show you that you too can learn to read Tibetan. So all of the sounds in the Tibetan alphabet have a basic vowel sound, which is ah. Ah. We call that the inherent sound. So it's not marked in any way, like in English, ah would be marked by probably AH, right? It's just a naturally occurring part of each of the 30 consonants that make up the Tibetan alphabet. So then the alphabet, if you look at, if you watch sometime a monk teaching young monks or young nuns or children the Tibetan alphabet, maybe you can witness this in India, Nepal, or Tibet. They always teach it the same way. with this kind of matrix of 8 rows and 4 columns. So in the first row, all of the sounds are made at the back of the mouth and back of the throat. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then in the second row, all the sounds are made at the roof of the mouth. And then the third row, all the sounds are made with the tongue at the back of the front teeth. And the fourth row, the sounds are all made at the lips. And then the fifth row, the first 3 are made at the roof of the mouth. And the fourth sound is made at the lips. So underneath the fourth row and up and over that last letter wah, underneath the fifth row, excuse me, and up and over the wah, the last letter in the row, we have that dividing line. So that's really important. So right now we're just going to talk about the sounds above the dividing line. So this alphabet is actually based on the Sanskrit alphabet. The Sanskrit alphabet sounds something like this: ka, ka, ga, ga, na. And the Tibetan alphabet sounds like ka, ka, ga, na. So they're based on, the Tibetan's based on the Sanskrit. Okay, so this is a family of sound, the row 1, left to right. And we notice if we look at the Tibetan letters, that after each letter, there's a dot. So the dot in Tibetan separates the syllables. So in English, we put a space between words. Tibetan doesn't do that. But in English, we don't necessarily put anything to indicate the beginning and the end of a syllable, but Tibetan does. There's a dot after each syllable. Now here, each one of these 30 consonants is a syllable unto itself. Okay, and then a little bit more about the sounds. The 4 columns, all the sounds going down that first column through the first 5 rows, they're all made in a short and high way. And then in the second column, all the sounds in the first 5 rows, they're all made in that same kind of with a high tone, but they add a breathiness or an aspiration when we articulate them. And then in the third column, all the sounds are long and low. And the fourth column, they're long and low and have a nasal quality. So there's some like N or M, N, M, nasal sound like that to them. So when I was talking about those characteristics, again, I'm just referring to the letters in the first 5 rows. Okay. When I began teaching, I was using a friend's book to teach with. And I taught with that for 3.5 years. And then I started making handouts to explain things more completely. And then after a while, I just started making my own book. And in the process of teaching Tibetan for several years, I realized there's basically 7 elements that need to be learned for a person to know how to read the Tibetan script. And so what we're learning today is just the first of the 7. Some of the elements are very simple. One of them just has 2 letters. So so what I hope to show you is that you can actually learn the Tibetan alphabet, and then you can go on easily and learn the other elements one by one. And when you've reached the 7th element, then you can spell, pronounce, read out loud any Tibetan word that you see. There are many different scripts in Tibetan, the ways that it's written. This one is called Uchen, and that means it has a head. And what they mean by that is that there's a line, it's a horizontal line that goes from left to right at the top of each and every letter. So we can see that in our very first letter. So let's look at the first letter, which would be row 1, column 1. So it's going to be a short and high sound, kind of like in English when we say what. So in English, when we ask a question, we raise our tone of voice, right? We say what, and that's a question. So that's all that we mean by tone. Some sounds in Tibetan rise up like that, what, and others go down like no. So there's some up and some down. There are very many dialects in Tibetan. So you can meet at the same monastery, you can meet people that speak 10 different dialects. That's not an exaggeration at all. They're from 10 different places in Tibet, maybe. They all speak a different dialect, but everyone reads this same script. They all read the same writing. Some of them might pronounce it differently. Okay, so back to this row one then. So all the sounds are going to be made in the back of the throat, just like when we're at the doctor. Maybe we have she puts a tongue depressor on our tongue and says, say ah, ah. She's saying that because she wants to look into our throat, right? And see what's bothering us. So all of these sounds, we have to open our mouth and then think about making them in the back of the throat, maybe visualize the back of the throat. Okay, so the information, row one tells us that the sound's made in the back of the throat, and then it's column one, so it's short and high. And then below the Tibetan letter, we have the capital K-A, and the next one, K apostrophe A, and then G-A, and then N-G-A. This is what we call the phonetics, based on the Greek word. The English word comes from the Greek root, phone, which means sound. So this is showing us the sound in Roman letters, the letters that English is written in. So you could say it's English letters to show the sound. But now we're learning a little bit more than just a plain K-A can teach us. We know that it has to be short and high and in the back of the throat. And then the A sound in all of these letters, again, is going to be ah. So if we combine all of that together, we get a sound that sounds like this. Ka. It's short, it's high, it's K-A, and the A sounds for ah, so it's ka, and it's in the back of the throat. Ka. So sometimes if I look up a little bit, that reminds me to make it ka. I know sometimes I raise my eyebrows when I'm saying it because I'm concentrating on the sound going up. Ka. Now the next one I sometimes call the breathy twin. It adds aspiration. So this is a high and breathy sound. So it's just very much like the first one, only it adds breathiness. So it's a breathy ka. So it's still high, still has the ah sound. So ka, 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 like that. So the first one is short and high, ka. And then the second one adds that breathiness, ka, ka, ka. Okay. Then the third one is long and low, ga. And the fourth one is long and low and nasal. It's pronounced like the English word gnaw, G-N-A-W, only we put it in the back of our throat. When we say the dog will gnaw on the bone, gnaw, that's made pretty much to the front of our mouth. But if we take that English word gnaw and make it in the back of our throat and make it a down tone going down, then it comes out sounding something like this. Gnaw, gnaw, gnaw. Okay, so the whole first row of the alphabet sounds like this. First one short and high, ka. Second one, high and breathy, ka. I'm concentrating on the back of my throat. Third one, long and low, ga. Fourth one, long and low and nasal, na. So the first row of the alphabet is this, ka, ka, ga, na. So we could take that as a mantra. So most people watching this, I think, are students of Tibetan Buddhism or interested in Tibetan Buddhism. One of the things we do in Tibetan Buddhism is recite mantras. Well, you could adopt this as a new mantra, the first row of the Tibetan alphabet. And if you want to learn it, then, and to study Tibetan in general, we want to employ all the techniques that we've learned from studying and practicing the Dharma. For instance, we probably sit up straight, right, when we're practicing, when we're meditating or reciting a sadhana or a liturgy, we're sitting up straight, right? It's a respectful, reverential mode that we're in. So we want to bring that to studying Tibetan as well. And then we might have a mala, the Tibetan prayer beads that we use in our Dharma practice, our spiritual practice. Well, we want to use that also in studying Tibetan. So as in recitation of mantra and prayer, like we don't just recite a beautiful prayer one time, maybe to the Bodhisattva of love and compassion, Chenrezig, we just don't recite that one time and go, oh, that was nice. But it's something that we do over and over and over again because we want to become one with it. We want it to become a part of us, right? And so we do it again and again and again. Repetition is the mother of mastery. And so we do the same thing with learning the alphabet, learning to read Tibetan. And so one of the things we do in Buddhist practice is we meditate and we learn to focus our attention and to not pay attention to our thoughts. You know, thoughts will come and go, emotions will come and go, but we let them be and we kind of ignore them because we're focusing on something. So these same techniques that we use in practicing Buddhism, we want to bring to studying Tibetan too. And a great master one time said, studying Tibetan is practicing the Dharma. Studying Tibetan is practicing the Dharma. So everything we know about practicing the Dharma, including our motivation. So before a study session, maybe we want to recite a refuge prayer. And so then what we're doing becomes an activity that we do for the benefit of all beings. Another thing, maybe we know about the Bodhisattva Manjushri. But the Tibetans, before they teach sometimes and before they study, they do a prayer to Manjushri, the archetype of awakened wisdom, the awakened wisdom nature. So we want to tune into that a little bit. So that's a good thing to do. Okay, so I'm talking about incorporating the study of Tibetan into our Dharma practice, but also incorporating our Dharma practice into the study of Tibetan and what we know about the Dharma. Okay, so we can make this first row a mantra that we recite. So here I've just marked off 7 beads, but a really great practice for beginning people that want to learn the alphabet is you could do an entire mala, 108 recitations of just the first row, and it would sound something like this. And so for the people that are new to the mala, the prayer beads, so I'm going to recite 1 row and then I would click or tell 1 bead on the on my mala here. So I'm just going to do 7 right now. So 7 repetitions of the first row of the alphabet. And the other rows follow the pattern down through the first 5 rows of this first row. So if we get the first row really well, then the next rows are going to be much, much easier. And I'm hoping you're beginning to see that there's like a rhyme and reason to this. It's just not a random collection of letters that came into the alphabet one by one, like English did. That's how the English alphabet came about over time. Okay, so again, it was enlightened Buddhist masters that created this script, that created this alphabet, and that created this literary sacred language that we're now taking the first step on. So studying Tibetan is a lifelong journey, just like practicing the Dharma. Again, you just don't practice the Dharma for a while and then go, oh, I got that. You know, even if you do a 3-year retreat or 10 3-year retreats, most people that do multiple years in retreat, they wouldn't claim that now they're realized and the path is complete. And as far as I can see, and the lifetime of ours, it's an ongoing journey, and it gets more beautiful the farther you go along. So the same is true for me for both the Dharma and the language, the sacred language of the Dharma. This is the language that made it possible for the Dharma to spread throughout that huge country of Tibet. And now, since the Tibetans have come out of Tibet, they're now spreading it around the entire world. So at the conference we're having on Buddhism and Daily Life, that exemplifies that, right? They're attendees from many, many countries all around the world, and they're coming to learn more about Tibetan Buddhism. So here, a little bit more, we're learning more about the Tibetan language, which is at the heart. It's the vehicle for the spread of Buddhism, and many people say for the realization of the teachings, you need the language. But in any case, here we go. The first row of the alphabet, a little mantra. So I'm sitting up a bit straight. I'm taking a moment to tune into Manjushri. I'll say Manjushri's mantra, Om Rapachana DDD. And then now I'm going to focus and invite you to focus on each of the Tibetan letters one by one as I say it. So just make that an object of meditation, very brief meditation. So very quickly, you can remind yourself by looking at the instructions, right? Row 1, back of the throat, column 1, short and high, etc. as we do each letter. Okay, so here we go, left to right, the Tibetan alphabet, the first row. Ka, ka, ga, nga. Ka, ka, ga, nga. And I'm doing a click after each nga. I'm going to follow Ruthie with the cursor there. Ka, ka, ga, nga. Ka, ka, ga, nga. So it's a meditation in action. We're learning the Tibetan alphabet and we're meditating on it, and the two aren't separate. Ka, ka, ga, nga. Click. Ka, ka, ga, nga. One more time. Ka, ka, ga, nga. At our website, www.tibetanlanguage.org, there's a video of me teaching the alphabet, and there's a chart like this, an alphabet chart. And I'm also teaching the second element too. So you can actually learn by yourself the first 2 of the 7 elements of learning to read Tibetan for free right on the website. Okay, let's go to the second row of the alphabet. So one more thing about the first row, like I said, ideally, I invite you to do that entire mala. So do 108 repetitions of that first row. It'll only take a few minutes, 5 or maybe 7 minutes. And if you do that once a day, and then do it a few times, like maybe 7 times before you go to bed, and then 7 times in the morning tomorrow when you wake up, you're going to be very, very familiar with that first row of the alphabet. Maybe you have it memorized, and that's a great thing. Even if you just learn 1 letter a day following this method, maybe you just want to do the ka and do an entire mala, making it a meditation. That ka, by the way, is a word, and it means primordial. So that's something to think about in and of itself. But anyway, just ka, 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 ka. If the mind wanders, we bring the mind back, right? Just like the meditation. Maybe we look over at the instruction, back of the throat, short and high, K-A. A means ah. So then ka, 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 like that. You're becoming more and more familiar with it. On the website, there's some paper, and you can get some instruction on how to make the letters, how to write the letters, I mean. So if you do 108 oral repetitions with one of the letters, like ka, and then you write it out a dozen times, and then go to the next one like that. But like I say, even if you just learn 1 a day, in a month, you'll know the Tibetan alphabet. That's a great thing. And then you can go on and learn some of these individual consonants here are actually words. So we have that on the website as well. Okay, let's look at row 2 then. So row 2 is made at the roof of the mouth. And the sounds are cha sounds. So no longer in the back of the throat, but at the roof of the mouth. So if we focus our attention on our palate, on the roof of the mouth there, and say the sound, and since it's the first one's in the first row, it's short and high. The second one's going to be breathy, so that's the CH apostrophe A. And the third one's going to be long and low, so that's JA. And the fourth one's going to be long and low and nasal. And that one's a little bit Spanish because it's ña, like mañana. pinata, like a sound that we hear in Spanish. Okay, row 2 then, at the roof of the mouth. The first one, short and high, cha. The second one, breathy, cha. The third one, long and low, ja. The fourth one, long and low in Spanish, ña. It goes down. So all of the letters, all of the rows, the first 5 rows, the first 2 sounds are high and the second 2 are low. And again, high just means like what? And low means like no. Like someone says, tells you some totally surprising thing that you can't believe. No, really? That's kind of a downtone. No. Okay, second row then, I'll just do it a few times, 3 times. Second row of the alphabet, moving right along. Cha, cha, ja, nya. Cha, cha, ja, nya. Third row. Well, let's do that one more time. Excuse me, row 2. Cha, cha, ja, nya. All righty, row 3. So we've gone from the back of the throat to the roof of the mouth. Now we're at the teeth. So the tongue touches the back of the teeth, the tip of the tongue. And so the first one is short and high, but it's TA. Remember the A stands for ah. So it's short and high, ta. And then the breathy one, ta. And then the long and low, da. And long and low, na. Okay, so the third row, first 2 up, second 2 down. Third teeth, tongue at teeth, ta, 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 ta. It's the top row. Okay, here we go. Third row 3 times. 2 up, then 2 down. First one plain, very cut off sound. Second one breathy. Row 3, column 1. Ta, ta, da, na. Okay, 3 times on row 3. Ta, ta, da, na. Ta, ta, da, na. Ta, ta, da, na. Okay, row 4. Now we're at the lips. We've come from the throat to the palate, roof of the mouth, to the teeth, and now out at the lips. So the first one is short and high, pa. And then the second one is the breathy twin, pa. And the third one is long and low, ba. And the fourth one is long and low, ma. I'm very much using my lips. Like when we say please in English, there's a whole explosion of air and vibration at the lips. Same here in row 4 of the Tibetan alphabet at the lips. I'll now say that 4 times. Okay, here we go. So we take much more time when we teach the class and do this very, very thoroughly. And then we learn the alphabet the first week, and then another lesson the second and the third, but each succeeding week, we continue to review the alphabet. So we go forward, and then we go backward and review, and then we go forward and we go backward. So back and forth like that all the way through. And we have a lot of time for Q&A, and then there's homework to do. We have the new level 1 book that teaches how to read Tibetan is a 154-page book, and it has homework exercises with correction keys. It has answer keys to the exercises. It has index that goes from Tibetan to English and English to Tibetan to help you learn the words easier. Okay, did I do the row 4 3 times? Pa, pa, ba, ma. Pa, pa, ba, ma. Pa, pa, ba, ma. Then the 5th row, at the first 3 at the roof of the mouth again, and the last one out at the lips. So the 5th row is short and high, tsa. We try to put a T at the beginning of TSA, tsa. Like the Japanese word tsunami has a T at the beginning, right? Tsunami. Okay, so row 5, letter 1, short and high, tsa. Row 2, breathy, tsa. Row 3, long and low, DZA, za, and row 4, wa. So column 4. So that's the 5th row. So the first 3 are made at the roof of the mouth, and that's why the dividing line goes up and over the wa. It's an anomaly letter, so it's off there by itself. But the 5th row all together 3 times, sa, sa, za, wa, sa, sa, za, wa, and sa, sa, za, wa. Then row 6, all of the tones go down. So they are ja, za, ah, ya. Okay, we'll do that 3 times. Ja, za, ah, ya. Ja, za, ah, ya. One more time. Ja, za, ah, ya. Okay, row 7. Row 7, the first 2 go down and the second 2 go up. So row 7, we have ra, la, sha, sa. They go up like that. Okay, row 7 3 times. Ra, la, sha, sa. Ra, la, sha, sa. Ra, la, sha, sa. And the 8th row just has 2 letters. They both go up, ha and ah. So 3 times, row 8, ha, ah, ha, ah. Okay, that's the Tibetan alphabet. So you just want to take a small amount and learn that, maybe 1 letter at a time. If you learn first 1 letter at a time and you learn the first 4 letters, then you can go back and practice with the entire row, the first row, and then practice that many times, like 108 times, writing each letter. You can fill a whole page of writing each letter, and then you're slowly becoming one with it. As you write it, you say it. So you're integrating your body, speech, and mind. So I'll say the alphabet one more time all the way through now, left to right and top to bottom, moving right along. And we'll and then conclude this little video on the alphabet. And we will share another one with a little bit more information on Tibetan Language Institute and also about Big Sky Mind. But now to conclude, the Tibetan alphabet, left to right, top to bottom. Okay, here we go. Row 1. Ka, ka, ga, na. Row 2. Cha, cha, ja, nya. Row 3. Ta, ta, da, na. Row 4. Pa, pa, ba, ma. Row 5. Sa, sa, za, wa. Row 6. Ja, za, ah, ya. Row 7. Ra, la, sha, sa. And row 8. Ha, ah. Okay, thanks very much for watching this video. Again, I'm David Curtis from the Tibetan Language Institute, and our website is tibetanlanguage.org, www.tibetanlanguage.org. There's all kinds of free aids in there, information about our upcoming classes, how you can purchase the learning materials, but then many, many things that are just free for you to learn about the language and the Dharma on the website as well. So thanks very much for attending. There's a picture of the homepage of the website. So I hope you've had fun with that. Stay in touch. Drop us an email if you like at info@tibetanlanguage.org. And then we'll have slides coming up later with the web addresses for both Big Sky Mind and Tibetan Language Institute. So thank you very much. It's been a delight sharing this with you today. Have a wonderful day and stay in touch. I hope we can study some Tibetan together. It's a beautiful journey. All right. Thank you very much. All the best. Tashi Dele.